My brother left to hike the Appalachian Mountains. What came back is not him. Welcome back to Creepy Crochet and Creepy Pasta. Let's get into today's scary story. My brother, Kevin, not his real name, I'm trying to keep some anonymity, has always been outdoorsy. Growing up, he would wander off into the woods behind my parents' property and stay out there for hours. He said that being out in nature brought him a lot of peace. A few months ago, things kind of spiraled for him. He lost his girlfriend, his job, and his apartment within 6 weeks. He ended up moving back home with me and my parents to try and get back on his feet. It was hard to see him like that. I mean, he was never someone I would describe as an eternal optimist, but that little spark he always had was gone. This past spring, I found him sitting at the kitchen table in the middle of the night. He was picking apart a piece of cold pizza, and it was the first time I had seen him almost eat something in days. I told him maybe he should get back out into nature, take some hikes, or maybe do a solo camping weekend. I said that I had noticed he had seemed down lately, and maybe being out in the world could help him get back to himself. In the moment, I wasn't sure if he was really hearing me, but he took a bite of pizza, squeezed my hand, said he loved me, and went back to his bedroom. The next morning, he announced to my parents that he was going to hike the Appalachian Trail. My mom was hesitant, but Kevin told her that he knew enough about himself to know that sitting at home in his room was causing more stress than if he could go out and just be in the place that made him feel most at ease. My dad just said that as long as Kev checked in every few days or so, he didn't see a problem with it. My dad pointed out that it wasn't like Kevin didn't have the experience. He was a Boy Scout turned Eagle Scout turned camping enthusiast. People do that hike all the time, Kathleen. If it were dangerous, no one would be bragging about it. I remember him saying those words exactly. I don't know why they stuck in my head the way they did, but maybe it was the way Kevin seemed to brighten up a little bit after my dad gave him his blessing in a sort of roundabout way. The next 2 weeks were spent helping my brother pack what he would need, registering his hike, and buying a plane ticket to Georgia where he would start his trip. The night he left, our mom was a mess. She kept fussing over him as if he wasn't a full-grown man. She kept asking if he had everything he needed, and he just kept assuring her he did and would check in with us once he got to the trailhead. Looking back now, he seemed genuinely excited. If I had known what would happen, I would never let him leave. My brother called like he said he would, just as he was beginning his trip. He even sent a photo in our family group chat that showed him up against a backdrop of purple blue mountains and lush greenery. He had a thumbs up and his signature slightly off-center smirk. He wrote, "Finally made it. Love you guys. Talk when I get better reception." Over the next few days, Kevin would send a photo or video, usually of his surroundings, but occasionally he would send a selfie with the caption, "Proof of life." But as the days wore on, we stopped getting updates as frequently. What was a text at least once a day became a text once every 3 or 4 days. My dad blamed it on spotty cell reception, which made sense, and it wasn't as if the messages stopped altogether, and from what I could piece together from his photos and short text bursts, he was making good time. It was around a month and a half into his trip when we realized it had been almost 2 weeks without any communication from Kevin. We called the authorities, we gave them all the information that we had, but based on what we knew, it was hard to say he was even missing. As far as the police were concerned, he had gone off-grid with the intent of going off-grid. Sending out search and rescue would cost thousands of dollars, and it could be a waste of resources, especially if there was someone else who needed it. They said they would put a notice out to the Ridge Runners, and if they saw Kevin, they were told to tell him to contact us. My mom was furious, but I couldn't necessarily blame the cops for their response. We had no evidence to support that Kev was anything but content out in the wilderness. A few days later, a text came through, just a photo of sunset and the words, "Everything is okay here." That began the new normal of conversation with my brother. There would be long stretches of time where we would hear nothing, just long enough for my mother to start panicking, and then we would get a blurry photo and a generic caption. "Look what I saw today," or "Wish you were here." One night, while going through the photos he had sent, I realized in the background of every shot from before we had called the police was a black smudge. It was too blurry to properly make it out, and it didn't seem to be an animal or something caught moving in the camera lens. But after the first photo he had sent after we thought he was missing, the smudge was gone. Kevin came home earlier than expected. He also hadn't told anyone his plans. One night during dinner, there was a loud, sharp knock at the door. My dad got up to answer it, and there was Kevin. His hair was long and stringy. He had grown a patchy beard over his cheek and jaws. His lips were dry and cracked, and his gums were coated in a dried layer of blood. He was rail thin. He had lost at least 30 pounds, and he wasn't a large man to begin with. His clothes were filthy, caked in mud and debris, and his shoes looked like they had been worn thin at the sole. My mother made a sound almost like a yelp and rushed over to him. The smell coming off him made me gag. It smelled like he'd smeared rotting meat under his armpits. My dad just looked at him in shock. When he finally spoke, his voice was dry and raspy, as if he hadn't used it in weeks. "Mom," was all he could say before he practically collapsed in her arms. I won't bore you guys with everything that happened after that. There was a lot of hugging, some tears, and then a very, very long shower. But something didn't feel right. Kev went to bed pretty much immediately after. He barely even looked at us. The next morning, he ate breakfast with a ferocity that made my skin crawl. He was gulping down huge mouthfuls of food, barely stopping to breathe. My mom just kept piling his plate with bacon, eggs, and toast. He stopped only after he had consumed a whole loaf of bread, 2 packages of bacon, and nearly 2 dozen eggs. I tried to ask him about the trip, tried to get him to say anything at all, really, but all I got were grunts and uh-huhs before he lumbered back off to his bedroom. The next few days were more of the same. Kev eating an insane amount of food, sleeping for hours, and then mumbling his way through conversations. It took about a week for him to start communicating like a human being again, but even then it was stilted, awkward, and unnatural. He's been home for almost a month now and something isn't right. His voice, it's changed somehow. It's still his voice, but it's like there's a second voice buried underneath it. Like someone's trying to harmonize while he speaks. He lumbers around the house like his knees are locked in place, but he refuses to go to the doctors. The worst part is the smell. It still won't go away. No matter how often or how long he showers, he still reeks like death. I could have maybe ignored all this. Maybe blame it on being isolated in the woods for weeks. But after what happened tonight, I couldn't sleep. That feeling of fear in my stomach I felt ever since he's been back hasn't gone away, and honestly it keeps me up most nights. I was trying to will myself to sleep when I heard the back door creak open. I crept out of my bedroom and down the hall. From my viewpoint, I could see into the kitchen through the window into the backyard. I saw my brother, perched on his hands and knees. He was twitching wildly, like every muscle in his neck and head were spasming. He whined his stance and thrashed his head towards the ground and out of my line of sight. Trigger warning? I was worried that maybe he was having some kind of seizure, so I ran out to check on him, and that's when I saw it. His head was buried deep into the carcass of one of our neighbor's cats. He was chomping down on its tiny body, blood oozing out between the gaps in his teeth. The thing had clearly been dead for a day or so. I ran back into the house and locked the door behind me. I was about to run back to my bedroom when that smell hit me, that horrible death stench that had been wafting around my brother. I opened the door to his room and inched a few feet inside. Wrapped in his bedding were the decaying bodies of 20 or so animals. Rabbits, mice, squirrels. I tried to run to my parents' room to wake them up, to tell them we needed to call someone. As I turned around, I saw Kevin in the kitchen window, his body drenched in blood. He was eyeing me through the glass, his head tilted at an angle that shouldn't be possible. The vertebrae in his neck strained underneath his skin. He lunged at the window and I screamed. My parents woke up then. They found me in the hallway, sobbing, sweating, shaking with fear. I told them what I saw and my dad rushed outside to try and, well, I don't know exactly what he was trying to do, but it didn't matter. My brother was gone. We called the police and they said it sounded like my brother had had some sort of mental crisis. Maybe he had picked up some kind of parasite in the woods that was impacting his brain chemistry. I know they're wrong though. Whatever that thing is, it is not my brother. My brother left for the Appalachian Trail and never came back. I think whatever that black smudge was in those photos was something that hunted him, and I think it was successful. Whatever that thing was killed my brother, and somehow his body came back home. My brother disappeared that night, but I'm terrified he will come back.
Welcome back to Horror House Hotline. I'm your host, Spooky Mane, and in today's scary story, we are going deep into the woods of Appalachia. And here's your warning, you shouldn't have listened. Let me start by saying I have lived in the Appalachian Mountains all my life and have experienced a lot of strange things. My family was Irish and settled in West Virginia, but I currently live in the North Carolina portion of these wonderful mountains. That being said, I have learned a lot about what really lurks in these dark woods, but this was like nothing I had ever experienced before. It all began with my golden retriever Ozzy growling like I had never heard before. He literally never growls, so that had me already uncomfortable. But this growl was bone-chilling. It was like he was getting ready to have a fight for his life or something. I took both him and my other dog out at around 11 p.m., and he would not leave my side. I noticed that my workshop door was open, so I walked down to close it and lock it up. But the entire time, he was glued by my side. Ozzy also kept trying to get in between my legs, still growling, and all of his hair sticking straight up like a feral animal. The second I closed the door, all hell breaks loose in the woods. It sounded like 50 full-grown men had broken out into a full sprint, tearing through the woods. Trees were shaking and branches falling. In my life, I had never been that scared. We got back in the house before I nearly pooped my pants. I got my pew-pew/light to figure out what the hell was out there. When the dog and I got back outside, we were surrounded by what sounded like multiple people mumbling. It was everywhere. I shined the light all over the woods and couldn't see anything, but the sound was coming from all around. It sounded as if you got a full gym of people to baby mumble. You could almost make out the words, that's why I don't think it was an animal. I almost immediately felt sick, like I was having a mix between a panic attack and the full swing of the flu. Back inside the house, It sounded like people were walking around all night. The windows were creaking, and you could clearly hear the sound of shoes on the gravel. The mumbling never stopped. Every time I got up to check the house, my feet would touch the floor and it would get dead silent. You couldn't hear birds, crickets, frogs, or anything. I was terrified and didn't sleep a wink. The air felt thick and evil all night. That's the only way I could explain the feeling. Imagine a soaking wet quilt being tossed over you. That's how I felt. I'm looking for any answers to what this could be. This wasn't like the normal spooky stories my grandma and great uncles used to tell me. Now this person did have a user respond to them, and this is what the user said. We live in the Appalachians, Southeast Ohio Valley part of them, Wayne National Forest, and here recently have felt the same things and have heard the same things. Also, what makes an odd, eerie clicking sound up in the trees at around 7 a.m. in the morning, and mimics human whispers at night, along with that heavy feeling of an evil presence. I think some who aren't usually susceptible to feeling such things couldn't possibly ignore this. It is so thick and heavy. And so, whatever this is, my husband knows and has seen some things, but is always in denial. His son saw something recently that scared him so bad that he came back in the house so quickly. I never seen him move like that, repeatedly saying, "Oh Lord Jesus, help me," while hugging himself in bed under the covers. He is 30 years old. And to react like that is unlike him. I've never known the boy to pray at all, let alone so fervently. Our dogs don't like being around whatever this was either. Their hair is also standing on end. Our youngest dog wants to bury himself under the covers of our bed. I listen to our dogs because they know, sense, hear, and even see things we cannot. Also, the crows I usually feed during the morning have been behaving unusually as well, fawning as if their warning of danger beyond the instigating hawk that kamikazed my dog and I a while back ago. Sounding like there's something wrong with it. They're coming around less and less too. That is concerning. And the dogs still back up randomly, seemingly about nothing, but they wouldn't normally behave in this way. What gives? My sister-in-law's cat started peeing outside of her litter box, crying and acting more needy than usual. Just over one night last month, we woke up to find that a huge tree limb from an older tree crashed down at some point and had taken out some parts of its neighboring black walnut tree and impaled the ground coming down. There wasn't a storm that night at all, so what caused this huge branch to fall like this? And the tree it came from is so huge and has got to be ancient. Anywho, like the stories of Bigfoot, wouldn't that be the same as this, Sasquatch? I've heard through reading and listening to audio video that these things are speculated to be what may have survived left of the Neanderthal. I came across this entire post looking for what animal makes odd alien-like sounds, with some clicking early in the morning, up in the trees of the Appalachian Ohio Valley area. I haven't found anything yet, and there hasn't been any show of the alleged coming billions of cicada mentioned to come. So that's not it. No birds we know of make these sounds during the day. So what is that? I don't have an explanation for the other crap we've experienced, so I can't find the source of the sound either. I do know there's more to this world than what meets the eye, and nothing is as it seems, most of the time, more often than not. We may all find out sooner than we think, whether we want to or not. Do we even want to know? Maybe not at all. Who knows? All I can say is pray like you've never prayed before. My stepson did. He hasn't acted the same since. This was just last month too. Okay, you guys, so that concludes this episode of Horror House Hotline. Let me know what you guys think. I honestly feel like the way animals react is very telling, and so I feel like whatever was out there for the gentleman in the first story was very, very real. Same for the people in the second story. But I'm not sure what it could be. I just think that Appalachia is so fascinating, and there's so many things to be discovered and talked about there. My family always did our family reunions in West Virginia in the Appalachian Mountains, and I have so many stories I could share with you guys because my great aunt lived there and we've been there many of times, and there's plenty of stories. But let me know what you guys think, and if you have any stories that you would like to submit or share with me, please send them to the email listed above. This is not the same email that's in my bio. Make sure you send it to this one, and I'll see you guys next time. Stay spooky.
Okay, here are some things about the Appalachian Mountains and folklore that creep me out, and some things we shall not say. If you're new here and you like to connect the dots and say, what if? Welcome, because that's what we like to do, and we have fun with it.
Yeah, fun.
Yeah, fun. Oh, I was just in the Appalachian Mountains, which I was told that's exactly how you say it. We were brought up in Wisconsin, and so we were brought up as Appalachian. So it's Appalachian. I could not sleep. I don't know if it's because I had already been on that side of TikTok, social media, that was telling all the tales. I don't know if I was freaking myself out. I don't know if I actually heard something in the middle of the night trying to come tap at my window. Here's some things. You do that and it's freaky. And I'll tell you, one of the things that people talk about seeing is someone reported seeing it in Rock Hill, which is not far from us. And so they say to not say the name. So I'll just put it right there because you don't.
Yeah, we're good with that.
See, we think these things are like demonic entities, and they take on different shapes and sizes. Okay, another thing we've heard about like the deer that are not deer, that you look out and you think it's deer, but then like they stretch their bodies, that you're not supposed to, because if you hear that at night and you do that,
guess who's knocking at your window?
Guess who's knocking at your window? When I was just in the mountains, we were sitting outside at dusk, and my friend didn't know all of the tales. I did know. So we're sitting out there and we hear rustling. We were up on the mountain. We hear rustling. She's like, it's probably just a turkey. And you could hear it was bigger. I was like, do you still think it's a turkey? And she was like, I think we should go inside. That thing sounded huge. And in the middle of the night, I could hear tapping on my window. How much so that it woke me up out of a deep sleep. And I had to reconvince myself, no, it's probably just like branches. This is nothing. But it was like rustling, tapping on the window. Then there's something that's called the Mothman. Have you heard the Mothman?
Oh, yeah.
Mothman Prophecies?
Yes.
Okay. So that takes place West Virginia, Mount Pleasant.
Yep.
He supposedly is like winged and has red eyes and is like foreshadowing a bad omen of something that might happen. No, what is interesting about this, I just saw a couple videos. Indiana reported seeing it. Illinois.
Oh.
So remember when I was talking about national parks and how I was talking about specific areas and ley lines that are mapped out all around the world? So are these signaling different dimensions of these things? Is the veil lifting? Are people seeing into the spiritual realm?
Can a skinwalker haunt you? Because if so, that may be what I've been experiencing for years now. Honestly, 90% of the paranormal shit that happens to me, I'm pretty skeptical about, and I try to rationalize and think logically about it. This story is the one out of two things ever in my life, in my 22 years of life, that I cannot explain rationally. And honestly, this story is one of the reasons why I am so obsessed with paranormal shit. So get cozy, because things are about to get creepy. Me, my boyfriend at the time, my roommate, and our friend are coming back from the trip to 6 Flags. And we're coming back pretty late because the drive was like 2 hours out. We stopped to get dinner at a restaurant beforehand. So it is basically pitch black outside. As my ex is driving, we're kind of in a rural area. So I'm in the passenger seat and I'm keeping a lookout because if you know, you know. Deer are fucking everywhere whenever you least expect it. So my roommate is in the back asleep. Our friend is still awake. He's having a conversation with my boyfriend. We're driving through this, like I said, rural area. Everything's like dark, not really creepy, but you know, it's like nighttime, it's a field. And all of a sudden I see something that drives so fast, so inhumanly fast across the road that for a split second, I think that it's a deer. And my brain's like, oh yeah, that's just a deer. And then as it's happening, as it's actively running and sprinting across the fucking road, I look at it and my brain then starts to register and process what that thing is. Once my brain and my eyes catch up and I'm able to register what the fuck that thing is, I realized that it is not a fucking deer. It is a tall, all-white, humanoid thing. And honestly, I just stare at it kind of like this. And I looked to my boyfriend at the time, and I was like, please tell me you just fucking saw that too. And I look in the backseat, and I'm like, hey, tell me you just fucking saw that. Tell me you just fucking saw what I just fucking. And no one saw a goddamn thing. So I'm like freaking the fuck out. I'm like, I'm not fucking crazy. I just saw something. I explained to them that it was like this tall, white, humanoid thing that I originally thought was a deer for like a split fucking second just because of it going inhumanly fast. And they saw nothing. And that's not the only creepy, unexplainable thing that happened that night. So I will be making a part 2 to that.
What would you do if you went into a pub and then slipped back through time and witnessed something absolutely unbelievable? Tonight's ghost story is called The Pub Time Slip, and it's another one from Alenko, and it just follows on from his phantom horse story. Let's get into it. Now, he says, I was 20 by now. I'd met a girl called Caroline, and one weekend I stayed the night at her place. We drove over to a small town outside Birmingham to visit friends. Later, we decided to drive to a pub way out in the sticks, miles from anywhere. As we arrived, it was very dark and eerily quiet for a place only 10 miles or so from the city. We walked into the pub and straight away could tell something wasn't right. Old men in strange clothes were sitting playing table games like cards and skittles. There were oil lamps instead of modern lighting, and the drinks were being served in tankards, not glasses. Everything about this place felt wrong. We sat down, but all 4 of us felt uneasy, so we decided to leave. The moment we stepped outside, everything changed. Suddenly we could hear the loud noise of traffic from the nearby road. Planes flew overhead. The bright neon glow of the city lit up the night, and we turned to look back at the pub. It was now brightly lit with modern signs, full of people and alive with noise. Had we just walked into a time slip? You decide. I vote time slip. What are you voting? Let me know in the comments. Has this ever happened to you before? I've heard that there have been time slips happen in a really popular road. I think it's in Liverpool. Correct me if I am wrong. But I was fascinated to hear about that. So I am really interested in time slips. Please email me your experience at thedarklingchronicles25@gmail.com. You can go into my profile on my page. There is a section there where you can send me an entry for your story. I'd love to hear from you. And I'll catch you for some more ghost tea in the next one.
I used to have a house in the Appalachian Mountains. I have some stories to tell. Welcome back to Scary Stories with Vic. We are diving into this Appalachian Mountain scary story time. Recently, I've seen creepy stories of mysterious creatures living in the depths of the Appalachian Mountains blow up on TikTok. So I wanted to share some stories I have when I lived there. So, to set the scene, I used to have a house on the Maryland side of the Appalachian Mountains. We were pretty much completely stranded there, as the nearest neighbor was around 15 miles away, so we had to either go on a huge supply run to the nearest supermarket, which is even further away, or hunt for food ourselves. Also, I forgot to mention, my mom always dreamt of going into a house or a cabin in the deep woods, so we decided to live there for me and my sister's summer. Anyway, we alternated between hunting and going for supply run. Now I'll start telling the stories. The first one is when me and my mom went for a hike through the woods and found an abandoned Wild West amusement park called Ghost Town, probably like 20 minutes into the hike. Once we got there, we got a weird feeling, no kidding, that I cannot physically describe with words, like it just somehow appeared in front of us. Then probably no more than 15 minutes later, we found a huge abandoned hospital. What? We never knew it for the rest of our stay, but those 2 buildings were the Ghost Town Village, located in North Carolina, and the Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in West Virginia. We started in Maryland, somehow ended up in North Carolina, and then got to West Virginia and got back to Maryland in less than 2 hours. We stayed surrounded by woods the whole time, not crossing or seeing a single road. That was just the start of the weird shit that happened. The next story is when my mom took me and my sister to a supply run, and while we were driving, we saw a man with a thick jacket, glasses, and one of those face covers for when it's cold, covers your whole face. A bicycle helmet, trying to hitchhike with his thumb out. It was the middle of summer. Me and my sister told my mom to just keep driving, but she pulled over in the road and asked the guy, "Sir, are you okay?" He didn't respond. "Why are you out here dressed like that?" The man finally spoke, but something was off. His voice didn't sound like it belonged to him. It was too high, like it was put through a voice changer. "Ma'am, can I get a ride?" Completely disregarding my mom's question. I looked around him and noticed he had no bike, no car, no hiking stick, no backpack, no nothing. Just those clothes. I whispered to my mom to keep driving. As soon as the man saw that she was trying to drive away, he let out an animalistic, inhuman scream and started to run towards us. "Pedal to the metal, mama." My mom floored it to the nearest police station and reported the guy, but they never found him. On our way back to the house, we were on extreme edge, but nothing happened. Then, that night, I woke up to a tapping sound on my window and woke up to the same man standing straight up with his hands on the glass. I lived on the second floor. Now, he didn't have sunglasses on. He also didn't have eyes. When I noticed, it immediately fell, and when I looked out my window for it, I didn't see anything. No man, no creature, nothing. Just like he just disappeared. I was so shocked and scared, I hid under my covers the rest of the night, even though I was 16 at the time. I peeked my head up occasionally to make sure he never came back. Then in the morning, I told my mom about it, but it's not like she could do anything about it. The police would never find it, and my parents weren't going out there. This was terrifying, but nothing compared to the next story. I forgot to mention, but we had a dog named Mac. He was a golden retriever and was super friendly and helped us retrieve the animal carcasses when we hunted. One day I was hunting with my dad, and a couple rabbits, and sent Mac to go get them, but we heard him bark, like he was telling us to go to him instead. We walked over to where he was barking and saw a tree covered with skinned rabbits, each with a sharp stick through there and removed with a weird symbol carved into the tree. We were speechless and covered our mouths in shock. And then we heard someone whisper to us, "Hey guys, come over here." We hooked up Mac to his emergency leash and ran as fast as we could to our house. I looked behind me for who whispered to us and saw a man with a huge smile on his face, and his eyes were wide as possible for a human to open them, staring at me, and then began to run towards us with a freak. I even scared myself. My dad grabbed his hand, Pew Pew, and caught him in the leg, and he fell to the floor while yelling in pain. Once we reached the house, we called the police and told them about it, and they sent multiple officers to search the area, but found nothing. Not the rabbits, no, for fingerprints. Not even the rabbits. For the next couple of months, we stayed in a relative's house. None of us felt safe anymore, but my dad, the one who pew-pewed the crazy man, was the only one who insisted we stay. He said we could defend ourselves, said it was just another crazy, that we should stay the rest of the summer. We agreed, but said if anything else weird or terrifying happens, we go to our house in the city. Then, the final story is what made us finally move out. One Saturday, I woke up and saw my mom missing from the house. My dad and sister said she was going on an errand, but that she'll be back in the afternoon. Afternoon came, and she got back. Nothing else eventful happened that day until night struck. We let Mac out. We just thought he was going to go to the bathroom and come back, but we heard him run away deep into the woods like he was chasing something. I don't know why we didn't chase after him. When he got back, he wasn't energetic. He wasn't acting like him at all. He was mopey, sad, and acting really weird. Normally, we would have just assumed he saw something in the woods that made him upset, but after the previous events, we were on edge. Then, when we fell asleep, I woke up to footsteps coming up the stairs. I peeked out of my door and saw Mac, standing up like a human in his fur gray, his arms longer than they should be, and his head twisted and upright. His walking wasn't right either. He would walk one step and his body would flop in the direction he stepped. He wasn't walking towards anything either, just roaming the hallway. My heart was beating out of my chest, and I called my sister, and after calling her 4 times, she finally picked up. I don't remember anything I said to her, but what I do remember is sneaking behind the thing, pretending to be Mac, and met up with my sister. Luckily, the rest of the family slept downstairs, so once I met up with my sister, we were able to wake our parents without going past it. Logically, we stayed in the nearest hotel for the night. We had to go back and get our stuff though, so we went back to the house and found it trashed. The food in the fridge was scattered all over the house, and once we got our stuff, we drove away. I looked back to the house and saw the man, the thing in the winter clothes, staring at me. It was the thing pretending to be Mac. We drove back to our city house and never stepped foot into the woods again. Did Mac survive? Poor Mac. So that was a good one from the Appalachian Mountains. That was Scary Stories with Vic. You know what to do. Like, comment, share, repost, all those things to help us, to get us some good, spooky, scary stories in the inbox, in my email. Thanks for listening, guys, and I hope y'all sleep good tonight.
Imagine hiring a nanny, then catching her doing this in your house at 3 a.m. That's exactly what happened to a woman named Noura in Jeddah back in 2003. Noura had just got married and she had recently given birth to a baby. Looking after a newborn wasn't easy. In fact, it became such a problem, she decided to hire a nanny from Indonesia, who had previously worked for another family. But from the very first day, something didn't feel right. It's like there was something off with the nanny, sorry. She was so petite and small, but according to Noura, she could lift heavy furniture as if it weighed absolutely nothing. She'd finish cooking faster than anyone Noura had ever seen. But the strangest part was that every single day she'd lock herself inside the guest bathroom for 4 hours. Noura had absolutely no idea what the hell in God's green earth she was doing in the bathroom for that long. Like, if I was to see her do that in my own house, I'd instantly assume she's possessed by the jinns. But anyways, one night she suddenly woke up. After hearing loud noises coming from one of the bedrooms, she slowly walked towards the room, peeked through the door, and froze. According to the story, the nanny was standing in complete darkness, wearing a white mask, while chanting words. She was basically saying, you know, that magic stuff. But Noura couldn't understand what she was saying. The second the nanny noticed her, she immediately stopped and jumped straight into bed as if nothing creepy had just happened. Now you guys know why I'd assumed the nanny was possessed. From that moment, Noura knew something wasn't right. So the next day, she sent the nanny out to go buy groceries. The second she left, Noura searched through her belongings, and what she found terrified her. Bags were filled with strange leaves, pieces of reptile skin, human fingernails, and bags containing strands of hair. Also, there was photographs of the family with holes punched through their faces. And according to the story, a doll that looked like it had been used in rituals. Noura didn't hesitate for a second. She instantly ran to her husband and told her what the hell was going on. This bit's gonna kind of confuse you, but you'll understand why. Instead of confronting the nanny, they contacted the authorities. But of course they had to pretend they hadn't found anything. It was obvious that they was terrified. I mean, would you do the same? Because if the nanny found out, she would actually try to harm them. So now it makes sense why they did what they did. But the story isn't finished there. They managed to get all of her paperwork ready and put her on a plane before she suspected anything. Over the next few days, Noura says she started finding more ritual items buried inside and around their house. Weeks later, they invited a sheikh to perform ruqya and cleanse the home. To this day, Noura still wonders if they hadn't discovered it when they did.
Rangers typically don't scare easily, but these stories that I'm about to share with you stayed with these 3 rangers for years after they happened. I've been a backcountry ranger in Montana for 12 years, and I've seen just about everything. Bears, mountain lions, drunk tourists, you name it. But nothing prepared me for what I saw on the Blackfoot River in 2019. It was early spring, snow still clung to the banks. I was doing a solo patrol checking for winter damage. The river was loud that day. I remember thinking how peaceful it was. Then I saw a man standing in the water. He was maybe 30 feet downstream in waist-deep water facing away from me. No gear or anything, just standing there. I yelled, "Sir, you need to get out of the river." But he didn't move. I started walking closer, and that's when I realized something was wrong with him. His arms were hanging straight down, and his head was hanging forward. I yelled to him again, and nothing. I was maybe 10 feet away when he finally moved. Well, crawled out of the river. He didn't walk, he crawled. I know how this is going to sound, but the only way I can describe it is his legs bent sideways like a spider's. His hand dug into the mud. He moved fast, scrambling up the bank and disappearing into the trees. I stood there in disbelief for a while, trying to make some kind of sense of what the hell I just saw. I didn't know what to do in that moment. I didn't radio it in because I knew no one was going to believe it. I know I wouldn't have if the roles were reversed. The next day, I went back. This time, I brought 2 other rangers with me. We found handprints in the snow, long and narrow drag marks leading into the forest. We followed them for about a mile, and then they stopped. I still patrol the area, but I never go alone anymore. My partner Davis and I were tracking a missing hiker near the Mogollon Rim. The guy had been gone for 2 days, and the terrain out there is brutal. Cliffs, thick brush, and sudden drop-offs. We'd been calling out his name every few minutes, but no luck. Around sunset, Davis shouted, "Hey, I think I hear him." I didn't hear anything, but Davis pointed toward a cluster of junipers, so we started walking that way. Then I heard it, a voice calling, "Help, over here." In the pit of my stomach, something didn't feel right. We pushed through the brush, and the voice kept calling. We reached a clearing, and the voice came again, but this time it sounded exactly like Davis. I turned to him confused. "What the hell?" he whispered. The voice came again, and it was getting louder, as if it was getting closer to the tree line we were coming up to. At this point, we both knew something wasn't right, so we started to back up slowly. Then something stepped out from behind a tree. It was tall, maybe 7 feet, and thin, with arms that hung almost to its knees. Its head was tilted, and when it opened its mouth, the sound that came out was Davis's voice, perfect and clear. "Help, over here." We ran, full sprint, no looking back. We found the missing hiker the next morning miles away. He said he'd heard something calling his name in the woods, but he didn't like the way it sounded. I knew exactly what he meant. I was assigned to an old fire tower deep in the North Maine woods, one of those remote posts where you're basically alone for days. It was late October, and if you know northern Maine, it's only about 40 to 50 degrees during the day, and at most 20 degrees at night. So I relied on the small amount of heat from my propane heater and a nice wool blanket. My 3rd night there, around midnight, I heard knocking on the tower door. 3 slow knocks. I figured it was a hunter who got turned around, so I climbed down the ladder. The forest was pitch black. I opened the door, but no one was there. I stepped outside, shined my flashlight around, but I didn't see anyone. I went back up, locked the door, and sat back down. 5 minutes later, the knocking started again. I yelled, "Identify yourself." The knocking stopped. Then something tapped on the metal wall of the tower right behind me. I turned around, my heart was pounding. The wall was vibrating slightly, like someone was pressing against it. I grabbed my rifle and waited. The tapping moved around the tower, circling it, tapping in different spots. Then, after about 30 minutes, it just stopped. I did not sleep that night. At sunrise, I climbed down to check the perimeter. In the dirt around the tower were footprints, but they weren't human. Each print was long, narrow, and had only 3 toes, and they circled the tower twice before leading into the trees. I requested a transfer the next week. Nothing else happened my last 2 nights there, but I never went back to that tower.
Am I the a-hole for leaving a note on my neighbor's doorstep about his screaming children? Mood spoiler. Seems okay. Okay, good. This was posted in Best of Redditor Updates. Original post was from June 20th, 2023. I've lived in the same apartment building for about 5 years. Throughout my time here, I've had many neighbors come and go, and I've never had any noise issues. However, last year, a new neighbor moved in 3 units down. He's about 40 and has 3 children under the age of 4. For months, I have listened to his children scream and cry all day long, whether it be in his apartment or in the hallway. Okay, this is a controversial subject. I feel like there's gonna be some people in the comments saying, like, honestly, with 4 kids, it's really, really hard. It's hard with 1 kid to stop them screaming and crying. I was just at my brother-in-law's house and they have, you know, a 1-year-old baby and the baby cries. No. He cries for attention. He cries because he got poopy in his diaper. He's constipated. You know, like he's hungry. He wants his baba, right? Like he cries. It's just, it is what it is, right? Like I feel kind of bad for the guy. This is a tough one. At first, I tried to ignore the behavior as I felt bad. Yeah, I feel bad too. It appeared he was a newly single father and was struggling. However, as time went on, it became clear that he just straight up let his kids behave however they want. Yeah. It's hard when they're that young, right? Because I find it hard to stop a baby from crying. Just 1, you know? Can't imagine 4. Dude must have ears of steel.
I mean, what kind of quality of life do we have there?
For example, when they shriek at the top of their lungs in the hallway / right outside my door, he never says, shh, let's be quiet or anything at all. Okay. Aspetta. That changes things. He just lets it happen without a peep. Okay, yeah, no. I would say in his apartment, I hate to say it, but it kind of is what it is. Like if you're hearing it through the walls, it kind of is what it is. But in the hallway, we gotta be more considerate. Additionally, I've come to realize the frequency and the volume of the screaming, crying, shrieking is beyond what is normal. I'd venture to say I hear anywhere from 10 to 15 full-on tantrums every single day. Oh, brother, I feel really bad for him, honestly. All of which are ear-piercingly loud. And like I said, he does not say or do anything about these tantrums. It's now at the point where I find myself frustrated and annoyed in my own home all the time. Right now, I'm working on a paper in my apartment and I can't even concentrate because all I hear are his children. Because of this, I wrote a note, a polite note, and left it on his doorstep. Essentially, my note that said that I sympathize with him, but the noise is out of control. I also stressed I wanted to confront him directly at first. I realized that sounds hypocritical since I left an anonymous note rather than going straight to management. Am I the a-hole for leaving this note? Should I have handled it differently?
Never use the gas station bathrooms at night. A man online claimed that him and his siblings were coming back from a very long road trip when they decided to stop by at a gas station. I mean, for most of us, this is something normal. You usually go use the bathroom, get some snacks. You know, what things could go wrong? The gas station was located a little in the middle of nowhere and there was little to no customers. They were like the only ones there. While his siblings decided to buy snacks and pump gas, he decided to use the men's bathroom and he went in there. There was just like 3 stalls. It was like a very dirty little bathroom. I mean, he just wanted to make this super quick. While he was in the stall, he mentioned how uneasy the bathroom felt. It felt abandoned, the lights were flickering, it had that weird yellow tone. So of course he's in the stall, he claims that everything is just super weird, he gets a very unsettling feeling, but of course he's not done finishing his business. After a few minutes, he hears someone walk in. At first he thought it was like one of his siblings, so he calls out to them, but no one really responds. However, these footsteps are simply just walking around the bathroom, not even entering a stall or anything, and after a few minutes, after a few seconds, he claims that he just doesn't hear them anymore, but he didn't hear it leave. Whoever it was didn't leave the bathroom. So yeah, he starts getting this very uneasy feeling, like very unsafe feeling. The feeling when you feel like someone is staring at you, you get that weird presence. He claims that all of a sudden the lights dimmed a lot. It wasn't dark, but they dimmed, so he decided to get his flashlight to light around. However, he then decided to randomly, something told him to look up at the stall, and what he saw was a very weird grudge-looking creature or woman, whatever it was, staring at him from the stall. He immediately starts screaming, he kicks the door open, he goes running, and he tells his siblings and like the customer service person that there's someone in the bathroom. They all go take a look, And there's no one there, there's no one that left, there's not even anyone that entered, according to the employee. So yeah, after hearing this story, I don't think I will ever be passing by and using a gas station bathroom.
This is so scary, right? So a teenage girl was home alone while her parents were away for the weekend, and she's just chilling and she's watching TV. It's about 11 o'clock at night. Then she hears like 3 knocks. So she thinks someone's at the door, and she goes down and she looks through the peephole, but like she can't see anyone there. So then in her head she's like, right, I'm clearly just imagining it, or the house is making noises, whatever. She goes back upstairs, continues to watch TV. 3 knocks again. Now this continues for like a good hour. Just 3 knocks, 3 knocks, 3 knocks. Now she's getting like really, really nervous, so she goes down obviously and locks all the doors, makes sure all the windows are shut, everything. And she rings her parents. And her parents are basically like, listen, it is fine. Like, people are probably just playing a joke, or like you're hearing things. Then her phone buzzed, and it was a motion alert from like the camera, but not the front door camera, from the back garden. So she opens the camera feed to like see what it is. There is a man standing outside in the back garden, staring up at her window. Just standing completely still, just staring. Then she obviously rings the police, and the police come out and they check like the camera footage and everything. They also checked the house and nobody was there, right? But then this is the really strange part. She had obviously told him she kept hearing 3 knocks, and the police officer is like, that is very strange, because none of the cameras or nothing picked up any of those sounds. So yes, the camera picked up him standing outside of the back garden, but no one was knocking the front door, no one was knocking the back door, so the knocks were coming from inside the house. I can't.
There was a little boy standing next to my husband's side of the bed the other night. I fully believe that kids and children can see things that we as adults can't see, that they like have the ability, I don't know, to see spiritual things in a way that we can't see them. And I am a firm believer that there are things in this world that we can't fully explain or understand. So a little bit of backstory. And I had to go through my text messages to find this. So back in October, we were sitting on the couch in our living room, and our living room looks into my kitchen, and all of the lights were off in our house. And I was sitting on the couch snuggling with my son, and he pointed in the kitchen and he said, "Mommy, who's that boy?" I said, "What boy?" And he said, "That kid." What? And so I'm trying to not scare him, and I'm just kind of like, okay, I don't see anything, but he's, like convinced there's a kid in our kitchen. And when I was going back through my text messages to find this, because I had sent it in our family group chat, I forgot that same day that my son saw the boy in the kitchen, I was up in my office working because I work from home. I heard a really loud crash downstairs. And so I came downstairs and was looking around, like, what was that? And I could not find anything at all. Nothing fell over. I looked in the basement. I looked outside. And I mean, it was loud. And it was in my house, for sure. But I could not find anything at all. So I went back up into my office, and Winnie, one of our dogs, came upstairs. She was completely distraught, shaking, and like cowered and crawled up into my lap. So that was the same day, and the first time my son had said anything about a boy, a spirit, anything. So 2 nights ago, I was sleeping, and I sleep on the right side of the bed, and my husband sleeps on the left side of the bed. And I was sleeping on my left side, and I have insomnia, so I'm up and down quite a bit throughout the night. And I just happened to open my eyes and look over, and there was a little boy standing next to my husband's side of the bed. And I went, "Oh!" and woke my husband up, and he said, "What?" And I said, "There's a little boy standing next to you." And he was like, no, you're probably dreaming. And I'm like, no, like, I know what I saw. I know what I saw. I know I saw a little boy standing next to you. So he like falls back asleep pretty quickly for the most part. And I'm up and down throughout the night. And so yesterday we were talking, and he said that night when he was trying to go to sleep, like he just couldn't fully sleep. Like he kept feeling really anxious. And if you know my husband, you know that he doesn't really experience a lot of anxiety. Like, I'm the anxious person in the relationship. He like never really has anxiety. And especially for him to have anxiety at night, like that's really abnormal for him. So apparently we have a little boy in our house. We have lived in our house since 2019. I've never really experienced anything paranormal in this house. However, our house is over 120 years old. So the first record of our house is 1900. When we first moved in here, I was cleaning the basement and I was vacuuming it, and I swore that there was a man in the basement saying something to me. And so I thought it was my husband, and I turned the vacuum off and turned around to see what he needed, but he wasn't there. So then I came up the stairs and went to go find him, thinking like, oh, did he just like walk up the stairs really quick? But he wasn't even in the house. That is the only time anything weird has happened. But again, I truly believe that children can see things and have a connection that we as adults don't have. I don't know.
Hi, my name is Emma, and I hop on and talk about all things ghosty in my 1856 Victorian. It's between Dayton and Cincinnati, and I have a new story for you today. Okay, so my main job is to run a pumpkin patch. We own and operate a pumpkin patch in Springboro, Ohio, and I am kind of diving in currently to overhaul it and clean it up and get it ready for the fall, because I will buy things all year for the pumpkin patch and then I throw it in the barn, and then I have to deal with it like now, because goodness knows fall's like right around the corner. But I thought I would share a couple funny things that have happened in the barn since we've owned it. So the barn is directly next to the house, so same property. I have seen a psychic a couple times in my life, and one said that there's a man that does laps outside. I think it's my grandpa, but I also know of a man that had a heart attack in my backyard. So I think that these people are just common visitors in the barn. Something really strange that happens in our barn. It's not every year, but it's so often. So of course we own a pumpkin patch and we're open like all of September and all of October. Most years, and I'll have to pull up some pictures, but most years growing up, there was a black cat that would show up in the fall, and it would like live amongst the pumpkins. And I know that sounds crazy, but we have like pictures of this. A couple times we would like adopt them in because we live on a busy street, even busier now than it was when I was a kid, but they were definitely just like outside cats. We think maybe they belong to different houses near us, but they were not our cats. And it was always a black cat, and it would disappear just as quickly as they would come. They never really hung around forever, but I've always found that it was really interesting that it would always be a black cat in the fall. So bizarre. So this might not sound, excuse me, super spooky, but it was in the moment. So I will work in the pumpkin patch outside in the barn until the wee hours, especially when we're just getting started, because I want my shelves to look full and the pumpkins to be, you know, well decorated. And I'm kind of an addict for working out there, and I love it. But there was one night somebody had brought me dinner, and a friend had dropped off, it was something in a bag, I don't remember where it was from, but I was sitting behind the counter, and in the middle of the barn, I had been cleaning, and that's where I eat my dinner, and there was a bag of leftovers, like my trash was sitting in the middle of the barn in on this table, and I was so tired, I was like zoning out, and I'm like looking at the table, I'm looking at the food, and I'm just kind of like half asleep, because I think it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was like somebody took full force hand and smacked it off the table. It went flying like 5 feet off, and it just fell in the middle of the ground. And I looked at it and I said, okay, I'll go to bed, I'll leave. I also cannot count the amount of times I have been out there working and nothing's going on, nobody's there, and things will just fall off the shelf. Last year, now this reminds me, last year I had a customer in, and people know, like, the house is kind of spooky, the barn's kind of spooky, so people know when they come. Some people will ask me about it, some people don't. But I remember this one lady, she's coming around the corner, and I'm looking at her and I'm just smiling, hey, thanks so much for coming, and you know, can I help you find anything today? And we're in the middle of like smiling, just starting, and a bag of candy looked like somebody smacked it. Like, whoa, I actually think it was popcorn, went flying. And the lady went like this and she said, did you just see that? And I said, yes, I did. She's like, I wanted you to know it wasn't me. I said, I know it wasn't you. And then one of the other, I shouldn't say last because there's like a million stories, but there was one other thing that happened there. I talk about my sister often, Lisa, that passed away. I inherited her radio, and there was nothing special about it. We're talking like 1998, 1999 radio. It had like the scroll thing on the side. It would show the red numbers on the front. And she had one and I had one. And after she passed, we were cleaning out her place, and I asked her daughter, can I have this radio? Because Lisa and I would listen to music all the time. It was like something that we shared. Her songs or my song. Anyway, radio, the music was a big thing for me. Well, I brought it out in the barn to work with me, and kind of thinking she would come with the radio, like just having her with me and listening to music, it would remind me of her to play it. Well, the daggone thing wasn't working. And I was out there and I'm like emotional, right? Because I'm like, it's my sister's radio. My sister had passed away. I want to hear music. I just want to work. So I'm out there working and I'm trying to plug this thing in. The lights are coming on, but the radio's not working. It's straight static, just shh, right? And I'm scrolling, nothing. Scrolling, nothing. I tried for like 5 minutes to get this thing to work. I unplugged it. I would, shake it up thinking maybe the receiver was messed up or whatever. I shake it up, nothing. It's just pure static. And finally I said, okay, I'm not supposed to keep this radio if it's not supposed to work. And out loud I said, Lisa, I know you can hear me. I'm trying to get this radio work. Please, please, please send me a song. Send me a song, sister. I miss you so much. I love you so much. Send me a song. And I scrolled one more time and the song came on, Don't You Forget About Me. Anyway, I gotta get back to work because the fall is coming and I have to go get ready for pumpkins. But I hope you guys are having a great week. I hope you are enjoying your summer because fall is on the way.
Hey guys, just wanted to talk. It's Andrew from OTBC Paranormal. I know I look different. I look worn. But OTBC Paranormal will continue to battle and continue to fight by giving y'all content. I noticed that the children's playroom gave a lot of good content and y'all loved it so much, and I am truly appreciative of it. Right now things are a little messy, dealing with stuff. I'm having to walk to work. I'm just dealing with a lot of stress and other things. One thing I can say is we will continue to make videos. I know right now they're seeming short or not paranormal related, but they will be. So yeah, y'all have a lot of content to be looking forward to. I'm also planning my next investigation, whether it be the Black Swan Inn or other haunted places, San Antonio, the Riverwalk, the Crockett Hotel, anything. Around my place, there's a lot of also good hunting spots. We have a wooded park, a nature park that's nearby. We have Comanche Lookout, which y'all have seen in if you're from the original channel. which was also very fun to do, even though we caught some that we didn't see in person. But the one thing I wanted to talk about was Tundra Village. If you've seen the original account and you saw that video, there were things that we didn't put on there that were really terrifying. We had a shadow animal. Don't know what it was, but it looked like a fox, but it was completely shadowed. There was, in the video, you hear something running towards us, which we did not see, but we heard the footsteps, which terrified us immensely. And then there was a video that we didn't record, but me and my brother were driving from an investigation, and the driver's side door kept opening. We don't know what kept opening it. We don't know what we were dealing with. And the door just kept randomly opening. Really terrifying. My brother was dragged out. His seatbelt stayed on him, and he was hanging out of the car for a little bit, and then finally he got pulled out of the car. His face was so close to the tire, it was terrifying for him. He had to keep making sure he was alive and all that. And then I ended up having to jump into the driver's seat just to stop the vehicle. As soon as I put it in park, I ran out to check on my brother. He was fine. He was walking back to the car. But after that investigation, we realized this stuff's getting dangerous. So as a strong recommendation after what happened to me and my brother, my hair is so weird. Anyway, don't be trying this stuff at home. Don't be doing the things that we're doing, because it is dangerous. Yeah, there are some places where it's less dangerous than others, but this one was really dangerous. I almost lost my brother that night. And to this day, I don't tell him this, but every day I still think about that moment and realize, is this safe? Should I keep going? And every day I tell myself, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep doing this stuff for y'all to see, so y'all don't have to do it yourself. And basically, I am 100% terrified most of the time, but that's because of after that incident that me and my brother rarely talk about. But I still think about it and question myself, is this safe to be doing? But we're still going to keep doing the videos. We're going to still keep fighting. We're still going to keep bringing proof to the world so that all those non-believers can start believing, because this shit's real. It's heavily real. And all you people out there that's like, oh, ghosts aren't real. They're real. We have proof. And once enough people start believing, I may be putting together a team of people that are going to take this seriously. And we are going to continue proving that ghosts are real. Another one of my favorite investigations was, and this actually makes me laugh, it's Crescent Bend. It was a funny night. So we went to go investigate Crescent Bend. And for some odd reason, we heard noises, we heard laughing, we heard giggling. By the way, it's just story time right now. We heard giggling and we heard movement in the trees and the grass. We didn't know what was going on till the cops came up talking to us. We showed them IDs and we told them what we were there for. Told them that we were paranormal investigators. Found out there was a Girl Scout troop camping in the park. We had no idea of it. The cops and me and my brother were laughing. It was a funny situation, and we told the cop that he's gonna have a fun time explaining to the Girl Scout leader that there were two paranormal investigators that got scared by their Girl Scouts. And in the vehicle, while me and my brother were driving back to where we were going, we were making a joke saying that the Girl Scouts should get a merit badge for scaring two paranormal investigators when spirits and all that couldn't scare us. It was really funny. And so yeah, that was the funniest investigation we had. I don't have much time left for this video, so I wish you all a good day, night, whenever you see this, whatever time it is. And remember, OTBC has your back. Have a good day.
This is one of the most haunting cases of medical neglect I've ever heard. This happened super recently too. The picture behind me is where police found Lacey Fletcher, whose body had actually melted the couch and started to fuse with it too. Just in January of 2022, police answered a call about a woman being unresponsive, and they had no idea that they were walking into a house of horrors. The police walked in and found Lacey Fletcher, who's pictured here, but she didn't look anything like she did in this picture. Not only had she passed away, but she was in an absolutely deplorable state. Warning, this is graphic. First off, she was covered in filth. She was sitting on the couch in a pile of human excrement. It was everywhere. It was all over the couch. It was in her hair, and it had actually started to seep through and eat through the couch, which had caused ulcers all over her body, some so deep you could see the bone. She was covered in maggots, and she was only 96 pounds. Not only had her body eaten through the couch, but her skin actually started to fuse with the couch as well. And she tested positive for COVID, which they believe may have been a contributing factor to her passing away. People say she barely looked human. What makes this even more mysterious is that her parents, Lacey and Clay Fletcher, were seemingly normal citizens in society. Her father worked at a nonprofit, and her mother worked within local government. Their friends thought they were lovely people, and when they asked how their daughter was doing, who they hadn't seen since she was 15, they said she was fine, and they just assumed she left home and got married. They made many claims as to why and how it could have gotten this bad. They claimed that Lacey had severe anxiety, as well as autism, or was on the spectrum at least, and that her anxiety had gotten so bad around the time when she was 15, they pulled her out of school and started homeschooling her, and she refused to leave the living room. They also claim that she had something called locked-in syndrome, but this is just a claim. It has never been proven. They claimed that they would clean her and provide her meals, and that she was free to leave whenever she wanted, but she was the one who insisted on staying in the living room and going to the bathroom on the couch. However, the state of filth and malnutrition that Lacey's body was found in seemed to contradict these claims, and they seemed like they were both of sound enough mind to know that Lacey needed a higher level of care that they could have provided and needed much more help and medical intervention. Investigators said that this happened over a long period of time too, so Lacey was probably on that couch for years, sitting in her own filth. The images were so upsetting and disturbing that the courts had medical professionals on standby in case anyone needed treatment. The police found her in January in 2022, and charges were filed on them in May.
You ready for some more creepy stories? Because I got them. Remember in the first video we talked about Bobby Mackey's Music World being the most alleged haunted bar in America? And I kind of agree. But we only talked about the exorcism with Carl Lawson. His story is the one that's most well known, but we kind of forgotten about a little other stories that happened to other people, and I have some for you guys. Before Bobby Mackey even owned the bar, it was a nightclub. There was a woman that worked there. Her job was to check coats. She said for 3 nights in a row, she felt a hand on her shoulder and it would try to turn her away from the basement door, like it was trying to protect her from going down into the basement. And as you know, in the first video, that's where the well is. She quit after that, and she told her manager that she truly believed that it was Pearl Bryan. And remember, Pearl Bryan was murdered, and that's where they think her head is, inside that well. There was a bouncer that worked there. When he started working there, he started sleepwalking. He would go to his front door, he would put his hand on the door, and it scared his wife so much that she locked it from the inside. She put a deadbolt lock on the door, and you had to have a key to open that deadbolt. He quit, sleepwalking stopped. There was a musician that played at Bobby Mackey's for over a year. He started having dreams. In his dreams, he would go down into the basement. The cap on the well was open. He would look down into the well, and he said that something would always look back up at him. And these dreams messed with him for a long time, even after he quit. But when he quit, the dream stopped. A woman I mentioned in the previous episode, when she started working there, her memory was going. She would forget basic vocabulary. She would forget the names of her loved ones. She would forget how to drive to and from work, even other places she's driven hundreds of times. Forgotten how to do it. She even had to write her own name on her hand at work because she couldn't even remember her own name. She even went to a neurologist. The neurologist didn't find anything. She said it was if like something was eating her words. She quit. 2 weeks later, all her memory came back. There was a cook that worked in the kitchen, and he could hear music that no one else could hear. He said the music was ancient, like before music was a thing. It just sounded so wrong, so he decided to record it. Nothing. Pure silence. Needless to say, he quit. The common theme of that location is the well. So again, what's in the well? There's so many different stories. These are just a few of them. So what do you think? Coincidence? Or do you think actually something has to do inside this location of Bobby Mackey's bar? Part 2 is out on this Sunday. Remember, if it's weird, we're gonna talk about it.
So I thought I'd jump on here and make a video real quick. My kids today told me something that happened, and I was outside when this happened. I had to mow the lawn, and I was like halfway through. I was like almost done, and out of nowhere, like from the side of my eye, I could see them outside, and I just kind of like looked towards them, and they're all like watching me, and I was like, oh, like, well, let me finish like this section real quick, and then I'll see what they want. I turned the lawnmower off. They all came back inside, and I was like, okay, like whatever. Continued doing what I was doing. Finished mowing the lawn. Came back in, and they were all like, and it's really rare for them to all like sit side by side, because they always just argue and they're bickering and they just get irritated and stuff like that. And they were all like huddled up on one couch, and I don't know, I didn't really think too much of it, but yeah, I was just like, okay, and just kind of like looked at them and told them to like feed their dogs and that they need to take them outside to go use the bathroom. They all come running into the kitchen, and I was like, what are you guys doing? I was like, you guys need to walk your dogs. And they're like, no, like we didn't tell you something first. My oldest proceeds to tell me that she had went downstairs. She put her dog in the kennel. When she came down, she seen our my youngest, Perseus, was sitting on the couch, because we have 2 couches, and there's like a little sectional, or not sectional, a love seat just by the stairs, and then there's a big huge like long couch facing towards like the TV. And she said that she thought she was on the little one, the little couch, and she said she walked by, because like she can't see, like she has really bad eyesight, she needs her glasses right now, but she went to the bathroom, and she came out, and she was gonna go into the kitchen, and she said right when she stepped into the kitchen, they heard like a really loud noise on the steps, and she said it sounded like, she was like, you know how when someone comes down the stairs, because like you can hear when someone goes down the stairs, like when we walk down, like the floors are really creaky and loud. And I was like, yeah. She's like, I heard that. She's like, but they were coming down like really loud, and like, so I was like, so like they were stepping really hard. And she's like, yeah. And she said that she thought her little sister came up here and like fell down the stairs, and so she like ran into the living room, but she said that she seen her brother and her sister sitting on the big couch, and she just kind of looked at them, and they were staring at the stairs already, and they were scared. And all three of them just looked towards the stairs, and they all just booked it outside towards, like, to me, basically trying to tell me what was going on. But I was mowing the lawn. I couldn't hear them because I had headphones in. And so yeah, like, now they're all scared. Like, just now, my youngest came in the room to grab something, and my son, like, was right behind her and was like, come downstairs, like, I don't want to be by myself. And like, so they're all kind of like on edge right now. But I told my husband, and here's what he had to say basically. If you've been on, like, my TikTok for a while, you know that I used to tell paranormal story times all the time, but it has been a long span of time since stuff has really happened. Like, there's nothing, like, too big to that I really want to report on. Like, my younger two do hear voices coming from my mom's room, like when she's not in there, and they said it scares them, like her TV won't even be on. So that's happened. And also, like, we'll just kind of see things like peek at us from around the walls or like around the corners and stuff, and like we just tend to like ignore it because like it just, like, it's annoying at this point. But this, like, really scared my kids, and like I told my husband, and he's like, well, he's like maybe like so and so brought something with them when they stopped by. And I was like, I didn't even think of that, like, because back before, like, when paranormal things would happen or we would hear things, especially on the stairs, is because like my brother would be drinking around and stuff, and he would come by the house, and he's not, like, allowed here, and even him just being, like, in the doorway, like, just standing outside, would invite something in, and just from someone opening the door. And so I was like, you know what, I was like, I didn't even think of that. I was like, but that makes sense. And so now I have to pray over the house and pray over my kids and everything. I'm just gonna wait for my husband to get home, so that way I can anoint everybody and pray over the house. But yeah, I thought I'd share that with you guys. I don't know what to think right now.
A lot of people think that the town behind me is made up, fantasy, doesn't exist, but I can tell you that it's very much real, and multiple people have reported on seeing a decapitated entity haunt this entire town. This is Sleepy Hollow, and it's considered to be the most haunted town in all of New York. And people say that they see him at the bridge, so our first stop is going to be the bridge. I don't think that I have ever seen this many graves in one place. This is wild. There's his sign, the Headless Horseman tethers his horse nightly among graves in this churchyard, according to the legend of Sleepy Hollow. Guys, I think I just found the real bridge. Just, like, take it in for a second, dude. So this is where he rides at night to look for his head, to stalk people. There'll be a rider that'll come across this bridge at night. Typically he has no features, no face, and every part of him is completely silent except for the horse itself. And some versions too, they also say that the horse is also headless, which is deeply freaking me out. Even though this is considered to be a fairy tale, it genuinely makes me wonder what people are actually seeing out here. And there's something called an egregore. So an egregore essentially is the belief in something creating that entity. So if enough people have believed in the horseman, are they now seeing a horseman out here at night? In Dutch culture, he is actually considered to be a fairy. And he's not like a Tinkerbell Pixie Hollow looking fairy at all. Like, he's more of like the fae, leprechaun looking fairies, the ones that you have to make deals with, the ones that tend to be more tricksters. And why would something like that even be over here in the first place? A lot of people think that the Dutch settlers that once came here actually cursed the land, and that's what gave such an ominous vibe to Sleepy Hollow in general. So when Washington Irving came over here, moved here, and saw how eerie this entire town was, he was inspired. Look, I don't know if there's anything here either. It could just be a bridge, but I'd love to see if, like, anything will come up on the obelisk. Oh, okay. If there's any spirit of a headless horseman over here or something demonic that people are seeing, I had to turn my phone off for a second because some cars were coming, but it just said ledge. There's a lot of bugs over here. Are you over the ledge somehow? Is there something here that wants to talk? I'd love to be able to confirm if you're really here. Are you really a fairy? Do you really scare people and stalk people at night? I want to see if maybe my EMS will go off. Is there anything here? Wait, this just said gateway. What? Did someone open up a gateway? What are people seeing over here? What? What? Hello? Oh my god, no way. So this is reading the energy of something, and this hasn't gone off this entire time. Sorry, I'm sweating profusely right now, but my name is Liz, and I'm just curious about some of the legends and the lore over here. I want to know if any of it's true, and even if none of it is, like, I'd just be down to talk to a spirit that's hanging out over here, because there's thousands of graves. I don't know if you've noticed over there, and I'd love to just meet someone if they're down to chat, if they're down to be. Oh, yeah, it's starting to go off. Okay. Well, I would love to talk about something. If you get close to that device, I can typically figure out what you want to talk about. Just have this say something to you. I'll give you a second. I'll give you a second to load. Are you buried over here? Do you really like this bridge? If you want me to leave, can you confirm? You want me to leave? Okay, thank you so much. I will totally leave you be. I will respect that boundary. It is totally fine. Not all ghosts have to like you. I will leave your bridge. And honestly, maybe that is why so many people are seeing hauntings over here, is because something doesn't want you here. Something's protecting it, and it's just like telling people to get off my bridge. I want to see if there's anyone buried here that would be down to chat with me though. Let's go explore and look at some of these really cool graves, because some of them are just so badass. Dubois? What? This looks like some vampire shit. Look at how like chained up I mean, I'm sure they had to protect it from grave robbers, but like, look at that key. I just want to show you the key access to get into this. Whoa. For those of you who didn't see The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, don't really watch Disney and don't really watch Johnny Depp, it was basically a book written about a guy by the name of Ichabod Crane, who was like this awkward, flimsy school teacher vibe. He was very like stern and strict with his students, but also deeply cared about them. Anyways, he comes across a hottie by the name of Katrina Van Tassel, falls in love with not only her beauty, but also how much money she has. So he's like, okay, she's hot, she's a sugar mama, like, how can I get into this? She already had a suitor at the time by the name of Brom Bones, and he was expecting to do the like, oh, if I don't really care about her act, she'll really fall for me. She really took it as that this guy didn't like her too much, so she was like, I'm gonna use Ichabod in order to make him jealous since he's already showing some interest. Even though she's using Ichabod to the public, it looks like both Ichabod and Brom, even though she's just using Ichabod, basically to the public, it looks like both Brom Bones and Ichabod Crane are on her roster. So one night there's a party, and Brom Bones, who is considered to be very competitive and very jealous, decides to prey on something with Ichabod that is kind of like his weak spot, which is superstition. And he goes on to tell this tale about a headless horseman who is stalking the night of Sleepy Hollow. But if you get across the bridge fast enough, he will just go into flames. He won't actually cross the bridge. The legend goes is that later that night, when Ichabod left, he was very, very scared, and he was stalked by the headless horseman himself. He knew that if he got across the bridge, it would stop following him. So when he got across the bridge, he turned around, and a fiery pumpkin head just came launching towards him, and no one knows what happened to him after that. Maybe he left town, maybe he started a new life, maybe he's missing, maybe the headless horseman actually got him, but all we know is that Katrina Van Tassel and Brom Bones got married. So it's pretty much inferred in the book that Brom Bones was just like playing this evil trick on him and maybe took him out. He didn't want him taking his girl, and basically like he was just the fallout of Katrina's master plan. But also like Ichabod wasn't that great of a guy either. Like he was really into Katrina because of her wealth. But the man that wrote the story is a man by the name of Washington Irving. After leaving New York City to escape yellow fever, so he was going through like his own version of the COVID pandemic, he came out to all this land, which was originally farmland, and felt that like it was eerie out here. He sat down, and growing up on Dutch stories of fae, he was like, I know exactly what I'm gonna write about. And that story is considered to be the first ghost story to ever come out. You can basically track back us having Halloween to that ghost story right now. It's like the ghost story. And because of all the attention that Sleepy Hollow got, this was all created. This entire spooky town, it renamed itself. It was originally North Tarrytown, but there's actual graves here that Washington Irving allegedly based some of his characters after, so we're gonna go look at some of those. So right outside this church is where the actual people from the Legend of Sleepy Hollow are buried. And the question is why are so many people still reporting seeing a headless horseman or an entity that carries around heads? And I genuinely think it's because of this. This is an unmarked grave for someone that they've never been able to identify, that is said to have lost his head in the Revolutionary War. He was a Hessian soldier, and so maybe he really is rising up out of his grave at night and looking for his own head. This is Katrina Van Tassel's grave. You can like barely see it. It's spelled with a C. It's like Katrina, the blah, 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 Van Tassel, and it's like separated. I think this was her husband right here. The character that Brom Bones was inspired by, I think his name is Abraham Martling, and his grave should be around here somewhere. No, I want to be able to find this, but I literally have no connection over here. So I'm like not able to look up where it's at. But besides the bridge, the place where people say they see the Headless Horseman a lot is at the Old Dutch Church. A lot of people say that they will hear services late at night or like an organ playing when there's no one in the building, or even hear that bell ring up there again when there's like no one here. I really want to go inside and just see what's here. I think it's locked. Maybe only those pure of heart can enter. I want to show you guys what it looks like inside though. You guys see the Headless Horseman or any ghosts in here? I feel very called to this grave right now. I just want to see if there's anything here. If there's anything here, just walk over and touch the REM pod. You just have to get close to it like this. And I'd love to be able to communicate with you. If you're here, can you do that again, please? Just come close over by me again. I'd love to chat. Hello? So, my name's Liz, and I just want to explain what I do. I try to talk to people on the other side, and I'm so excited to have a conversation with you. If you want to have a conversation, just walk back up to that red light again. It's totally fine if you don't want to talk to me. I totally understand. We'll move on to the next spot. I also see a lot of people hiking and walking over here, and damn, this is a good place to be doing that. Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, the walk over here is no joke. Whoa. I feel like that's a sign. That's a sign, right? I feel called to this one. Who is this? Frederick Fisher Meyer. Look at this beautiful door. Can you guys see inside? Does anyone over here want to talk to me? I'd love to chat with you. If you want to talk, can you get really, really close to that thing right there? Thank you so much. My name's Liz, and I love to talk to people on the other side, and I love to see if you have any messages for people. I don't know when you pass, but I do something that's kind of like the equivalent of a newspaper today, like publishing books and stuff. So a lot of people are going to see this, and I really wanted to just know if you had any messages for anyone, anything that you'd like to say. Whoa. It says numbers slow. What did it just say? Wed. Wed. Were you married? I think the place that you're buried is beautiful. I would love to be buried in something like this. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm just gonna walk around your property a little bit. Oh, these are nice. These are really cool. Okay, I have literally no internet connection out here, so I can't even look up who this is. So I just asked out loud, hey, can you give me a sign of who you are? I don't know if this is significant at all or if he's asking me what I'm doing, but it just said radio. Basically, yeah, this is like a radio. So I'm broadcasting something out. I don't know what year you died, so I don't know. I didn't know you knew what a radio was. I would love to broadcast out a message though. It says stars. Do you want to be a celebrity? How you feeling about celebrity status? People are going to know who you are. I love your family crest. That is the coolest thing ever with the fish, the sardines. I don't know if you know this, but this is really popular this year. I've seen this on a lot of clothing. People would eat that up, which I don't know if you know what that means, but that's a really good thing. Equation? Or maybe stars equation. Are you trying to solve something? Were you some kind of astrologer into astronomy in any way? Guys, there's so many famous people buried here. Rockefeller, the guy that made Chrysler, also Elizabeth Arden. This is kind of besides New Orleans, this is the cemetery. Look at that one up there. Oh man. Do I go up these stairs? I guess I do. I'm too curious right now. I hope when I die, I just have a tombstone or a mausoleum that people just want to stop at and look at and admire. Look at this, guys. I'm sure that's all their family members. There's stained glass. Whoa, who's buried here? Hunting Howell. You know I'm gonna ask. Hike, yeah, no, I literally been hiking up here. Is there anyone up here that would like to share any kind of message that you have for me or for the people watching? I'd love to take any. You want me to stay? Just sit in silence. I like to be in silence. Probably been sitting here for 3 to 5 minutes. It was really nice getting to hang out with you. Thank you for letting me sit on your beautiful mausoleum. Can you back up? Can you back? Are you? Wait, come stand next to me. I was packing up to go. Do you not want me to go? So I don't mean to be that weird tree girl, but like, I can't even like process how large of, like how long of a life. That is a crazy large tree. So many of these doors have like a teal blue to them. I wonder what this meant back then. I'm only seeing like the side profile of this one right now, but like this one looks like no joke. Who are you? Mills, you got a sick place. Wait, we're catching up to Kaylee.
Welcome to Buttman. We stopped at this one our very first time
literally.
here. And this place is huge.
It's huge.
I could never remember this, so it's wild that we're back at Buttman.
No.
Buttman was calling me.
What vibe do you want to give?
I don't know. I'm so hot.
I'm so hot. I'm sweating.
I know your name's probably Buteman or Bootman. Well, listen, if there's anybody here that can hear my voice that would like to talk, if you feel like it, you could just come and talk into this thing. I'm putting it right over here.
What did you say?
As. Or you could come and just touch this, and it just lets us know that you're here.
I'd love to chat with you. My name's Liz.
Oh, my name's Kaylee.
And we do like newspaper journalism today. So a lot of people are gonna watch what we're doing and what we're talking about, and I would love to discuss with you any kind of message that you had.
Most of the time people at the graveyards don't want to be bothered.
Yeah.
Especially a really popular graveyard, so that's why I'm not doing so much ghost hunting here.
Very much
like
at
I said,
peace.
I also want to be more respectful of the place since it is a graveyard, so just not too much ghost hunting here. Okay, so my spirit guides, if one of my spirit guides could come through and let me know, and let's do 5 cards. 5 cards is great. Let me know the overall energy of this cemetery and the old Dutch graveyard. The energy. What's the energy here? Honestly, I don't even need the cards to tell me. It is so beautiful. It's beautiful. It's peaceful. It's quiet. It's a great resting place. I even think like...
Whoa, 2 just came out? What's that?
We got the High Priestess upside down and the devil. What does that...
What does that mean?
Okay, that's weird. The message that I got you know what's really weird though?
What?
I'm gonna be real honest with you. Do you see those cards right there? There's another deck of cards in my bag. The spiritual defenses card. Those are the ones I only use for negative things, and I wanted to pull those out. And this is telling me that you know how I just said I literally just said I don't even need the cards.
So you think there really might be something negative here though? Like even though this is peaceful.
I don't feel it, but this is telling me I'm wrong.
So
these cards just straight up told me I'm wrong.
I will say when I went down to the bridge, the obelisk did say gateway. So if there is something here, maybe there is something that like pops in and out. Like
no, absolutely. So cemeteries are absolutely portals. They're absolutely portals. Almost all cemeteries have one. I think the cemeteries themselves are a portal. And it would make sense because I really was going to say just because of how much death and tragedy and mourning and sadness does go into a cemetery, although we're not feeling it,
right?
That does attract these things. And it's really interesting because I just said, I don't need the cards to tell me how it feels.
Haley.
So there might be something really nasty here. Thank you, cards. Okay, so.
Thank you for letting us know.
So
Can we grab them?
Yeah, that's.
Okay.
I gotta go.
Oh, and we have to like not ignore either just Sleepy Hollow in general because.
Oh, are we being warned?
Dude, well, because, I mean, Washington Irving wrote a book, like, he came here and he was like, man, this town is so eerie, the land is so weird to me that I'm gonna create a ghost legend based off of this. So there is something weird with the land, and there's a whole theory that the original Dutch settlers that came in here cursed the land. So...
That would
Who
make
knows?
sense. And okay, what are the coincidences?
That was weird.
No, it's a very weird. I really was about to pick up this deck, and I was like, no, maybe not.
I was like, wow, this is so nice, this is so cheery, and then boom.
I mean, I still feel good.
I still feel great.
I think I just love it here. I think I love cemeteries. I love how peaceful they are. I think of death as very peaceful.
I also think that it being daytime doesn't hurt either.
Oh yeah, I was saying, this is really funny. I was saying how I would die to investigate here at night, and I was like, and I was like, you really do have to die to investigate. To be here at night is what I said.
To be here past 4:30, you gotta die.
You gotta die. Here's the thing: if there is nothing negative here, there are cards in here that are not negative. I pulled this out when I need to know more about an inhuman, negative haunting.
Really sick cards.
Oh, they're really pretty. Mine are really beat up. But these are gorgeous, gorgeous cards.
Even though I feel okay, I do feel nervous about what just flew out.
Paranoia.
Why does I said I'm nervous?
the crown chakra. I have a very weird vibe. Right. Okay, I had a very weird epiphany as soon as paranoia came out.
Okay.
The first thought, I know that you were saying you're paranoid, but is there a chance that we could have like brought something with us from Clinton Road last night?
Goodbye. What?
Because the crown chakra, the top of your head is where that's your crown chakra. I truly felt that we were in danger, and we left.
I will say too, I did also make us do like a ritual.
Yeah, she did. And well, you know what? You're not really that guilty because the ritual said to make a wish, and I wished for something really scary to happen.
I said highest self.
And I said, yeah, give me something scary. I'm not sure. Tell me more. Tell me more about what's going on. You know how to talk to me.
Yeah, who's with us?
We'll see. We need more. We need more on it.
Something almost like wanted to fly out and then didn't.
Yeah, that's
interesting.
That's what they do. These are really hard to shuffle if you're noticing. Energetic imprint. That could be that could be the cemetery. Like, we got to keep reading. Energetic imprint. That could be like I said about the grief and the trauma in the cemetery. Well, what's weird is now that we're reading, I'm definitely paranoid. Unseen fae. Okay, so
fae, because he's a fairy.
Who's a fairy?
The headless horseman is a fairy. He is considered to be a dark or demonic fae.
That would be demonic. I have the devil out. That would be something negative, very negative.
But like, is he real? Like, that's what I kept asking.
Well, it would be if you're saying there's an egregore, because I think the spirit's real.
The man, like the spirit, like the headless spirit walking around looking for his head is probably real. But I also think, like, when we go into Dutch lore and this being like an original Dutch settlement, like, headless horsemen were considered to be dark fae, and it's not always evil. It's not always evil. Sometimes they're like more like, what's the word, like righteous, I guess.
Okay.
Is kind of the word. Like, if you do something for them, or like you show you're not scared of them and you're brave, like they'll be with you to help you.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of evil versions.
I think the man's evil. The man's absolutely not evil. But this is talking about bad.
Yeah.
And the fact that you said it's a fae so maybe, dude, are we like, oh god. I'm glad it's daytime, because like, could you imagine like we actually come in contact with this thing that throws a flaming pumpkin at our head or some shit?
No, it's not funny.
Isn't that what he does?
It's not funny, but like, that did make me laugh.
But isn't that what he does?
Yeah, I mean, that's how the story goes. But like, a lot of people in this town have reported something headless stalking them at night. So it's like,
and I don't think that the human spirit would be stalking.
No,
people.
He's looking for his head. He's looking for his head.
How could he even see people? How could he even look? Let's be so fucking for real.
I don't know. Like, unless it's something presenting itself as whatever is in this town to keep itself hidden. Because of course, like, I mean, there's literally a mascot for the headless horseman here.
Right.
So like, it wouldn't be questioned.
A demon. What is a demon? They are non-human parasitic entities, and they can quite literally show themselves as anything. And what I have come to know with coming in contact with demons, and I'm also studying demonology, is that the things that they choose to present themselves as are the things that are around the areas that they're in. So there is a demon or a non-human parasitic entity, whatever you want to call it, at Laurel's House of Horror, and the demon at Laurel's House of Horror chooses to present itself as the...
Whoa. Are you here? Are you confirming?
Is the boy here from Laurel's House of Horror? That'd be fucking crazy. Why would he be here? All right. Thank you for your info. Anywho, that demon chooses to present itself as all the animatronics and things that it physically sees in the area that it is. So it would make total sense for, if there was a negative entity here, to choose to be the headless horseman. Because wouldn't that scare the shit out of the people around here?
100%.
Just based off of history and...
Yeah.
What the fuck? Okay, let's read.
I feel like freak anyone out, but have you guys seen that Don't Blink episode on Doctor Who with the Weeping Angels? I'm scared. Look at this one. My father's clock placed here at my request. Whoa. What was I just telling you guys about the Weeping Angels? What was I just saying, dude? You've got to be kidding me right now. No way. Maybe if like there's at least you guys looking behind me. You see, like, all those hills are mausoleums. This is where the man, the myth, the legend is buried himself. Washington Irving, great plot. All his family members right here. But he is genuinely such an interesting and fascinating man, and I don't think that he gets enough credit. Like, I literally think that Lin-Manuel Miranda needs to get on with writing a Broadway play about this man, because this man literally is the definition of the butterfly effect. He created so many things. Not only did he essentially create Halloween, he kind of created Christmas. He was the first person to actually depict Santa as like Saint Nicholas as like this jolly, fat, happy character. He also is the reason that we have things like the New York Knicks. He coined the term Knickerbocker. He also is kind of the reason that we have Batman too. He was the first person to use the word Gotham, he also was the one that encouraged Edgar Allan Poe to write, considered to be the inspiration for Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. All these things we would have never even received without himself. I was Washington Irving. I would be haunting not only here, but also my house, which we're gonna go see later. But I wanna just see if he has any messages for us over here. Okay, so the first thing that came up was channeling. So yeah, I wanna channel you. I wanna see what the vibes are. Like, are you proud of this town? Can you tell me more about the Headless Horseman or your writings, or maybe something that you like didn't create but always wanted to? If I was the father of Halloween, I would certainly be haunting some shit. What'd you say? Halo. What do you think of Sleepy Hollow? We're gonna go to his house here soon and just see if we can get a little bit more of a vibe. Where? I'm over here. Faster. Well, I'm walking away right now. If anyone... Did I just say sub and master? Oh, I gotta show Kaylee that. Why did this just get oddly sexual? I wasn't really expecting that. Truth, but yeah, I don't know what that was about, but well, I was going off a lot up there, and now it's like dead silent down here. But I will say it feels the most peaceful. Okay, so here we are at Washington Irving's actual house. Look at the butterfly. I feel like that's a good sign. We're not allowed to be here right now. It's closed today, and the lady just said, "I convinced the lady to let us go. Pretend you never saw me." There's a guy on the other side, and I'm trying to avoid him seeing us. Anyways. Here's Washington Irving's house, where he not only lived, but he passed away, and he made probably the most beautiful cottage. Wrote literally like the most amazing stories here, just like overlooking the Hudson River. Had the coolest house guests. Literally Charles Dickens stayed here with him. What's interesting too is he has the year 1656 written over here, even though that is not at all when this was built. Historians think it was maybe like around the 1690s, but he loved a prank, and that was like hilarious to him, and I think really shows his personality really well. And even just like in the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, with all the pranks that were played, like you could tell that he had a very playful and serious personality and very big imagination. But I also feel like this is something that I would do. I would maybe create my own dream house that looks like very 1800s style, but it's like new, and then put like established at 18 something on there. So Washington Irving has continued to haunt his property, and Kaylee is gonna do some tarot cards and just see if she can get a vibe for the energy. Just the energy over here.
Guys, super quickly, before we get caught and arrested, what is the vibe of Washington Irving's property? What kind of energy did he leave here? What kind of energy is here today? Whoa, what is that? So we got the 8 of Wands. The 8 of Wands is all about fast, very fast paced. I wonder if that's picking up on the train. I also wonder if like things pass through here very quickly, or if we're being told to go fast.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, okay, a lot of anxiety. He did lose his fiance, so that makes a lot of sense. This is the anxiety card. Ooh, I wonder if time passed here very quickly.
Yeah, I wonder too. And like, he was using writing as a way to cope.
He definitely made a lot of money, like family wealth, but he didn't have a family, so like he just put it all into the estate. So this definitely came out this way. This is the 8 of Swords, and the 8 of Swords is all about being trapped, but it's trapped by your own mental state.
It's interesting. It's almost kind of like, I feel like some artists are just like tortured themselves, and like I feel like some of the most messed up people create the most beautiful art. We just came to see the lighthouse, and we're blocked. So apparently a guy by the name of Captain Kidd, he like ran up and down this Hudson River. He's still looking for his buried treasure in the afterlife. He's also said to have a bride that people report to have seen like on the shoreline looking for him.
There's another guy that lived here, the very first lighthouse keeper. He lived here for 21 years. His name was Captain Ackerman. He apparently is still here haunting the place. People say they hear him clanking around and fixing the lights, like maintaining it, walking up and down the freaking iron staircase, as well as some people say people looking out over the Hudson River on very, very foggy, dense, rainy nights, they'll see light coming from the lighthouse. And this lighthouse don't work no more.
And how long did he live there for?
21 years.
Dude, imagine living in this structure for 21 years. But dude, it is so crazy how an entire place built off of fantasy might have some truth to it. Thank you guys so much for joining me for Sleepy Hollow today, and I'll see you guys next time.
So I haven't got any more stories about Peter, but I do have a story
of, it's a bit of a ghost story really. I used to work in a pub which was out in South Wales, just on the coastline, and it was a creepy old place called the Captain's Wife. Still there, still running as a pub / restaurant. When I worked there, it used to have a children's play area. Many people from England may know Charlie Chalks or Brewster Bear. But yeah, so the climbing frame inside the play area was on 2 levels. So it had ground floor and the first floor. And every day there used to be a plastic tarpaulin thing that would go over the fire exits just to make them look a bit neater. And every day you can guarantee that one of the kids has ripped it down because it had Velcro around the edge. So every day we would have to go up and put the cover back over it. It was kind of, do we actually bother putting it back on or not? But it needed to be signposted that it was a fire exit. So anyway, I was closing up one day with my duty manager at the time, and she said to me, can you go and close up the play area, make sure that the fire exit things are on, and make sure there's no wandering kids in there. Check the ball pit, make sure no one's, gone home without a child. And I did. So all the lights were on, everything is normal. So I've gone and done the bottom one, absolutely fine, and then climbed up to the top because it was big enough for an adult to go on there. Gone up to the top, gone to put the other one on. Now, it did have a big pane of glass in the middle of the door that looked out onto the sea, and you could, quite blatantly see the sea, and it was basically pitch black outside, and a face appeared. A very grey face appeared. I'd never slid down a slide so fast in all my life and run outside. It was renowned for being a haunted pub, but it actually made national press for being one of the most haunted pubs in South Wales. Yeah, had a ghost that they called the Captain's Wife, conveniently, and rumour has it that apparently the captain came home, found his wife with another man, and chucked them both down the well that was situated under what is now the kitchen. And yeah, creepy old place. Loved it though. It was some of the best years of my working career in the place. The staff were fantastic. And yeah. Anyway, have a good night. Or have a good day whenever you're watching this. Bye.
I mean, I know the words are coming out of my mouth, but I legitimately cannot comprehend. I cannot comprehend how something like this would happen. Very quickly, we are talking about a child, so if you think that listening to this is going to harm your mental health in any way, shape, or form, take care of yourselves. Your mental health is priority. Always has been, always will be. So skip this video if you need to. I mean it. I love you. Super Bowl Sunday, February 8th, 2026 in Gilbert, Arizona, a suburb.
So listen to me.
Right outside of Phoenix, friends and family had come together as people usually do to watch the game. The adults were gathered in the kitchen living room area when a parent's worst nightmare came true. A couple was there with their 18-month-old baby boy, and at some point in the gathering, the little boy wandered away from the adults and nobody noticed. He had been running back and forth between rooms, and at one point he just did not return. It's believed that he had found an open door to the outside. The backyard of the house had an in-ground pool that was only partially fenced, and the baby boy fell into it. Around 5:30 p.m., he was found floating face down in that pool. He was pulled out immediately, but he had been underwater for approximately at least 5 minutes, could have been closer to 10 minutes before he was found. 911 call was called immediately, and first responders got there as soon as they could. Once they were there, they performed life-saving measures on the scene, CPR, oxygen, doing everything that they could. They loaded him into an ambulance and rushed him to the hospital. This little boy was only 18 months old. He reportedly weighed around 25 pounds. By the time that he was found in the water, he was cold to the touch and he was unresponsive. The hours that followed would be the hardest and most desperate, not only for that little boy, but for his loved ones, and it would be extremely consequential for several people's careers. At the hospital, doctors surrounded him and police officers were also present. One of the doctors attending to the 18-month-old was Dr. Arian Tusi. State board records show that he completed his emergency medicine residency in 2022, and he holds a physician license that was issued in 2023 and then renewed in 2026. So they're treating him, trying to get him to come back to them, when one of the officers present hears a nurse say, quote, "I have a pulse." That officer then walks over to Dr. Tusi, who was talking to the boy's parents, and he informed him of what the nurse said. According to the police report, Dr. Arian Tusi then told the officer, quote, "Please do your thing and let me do my thing. I went to medical school for a reason." Dr. Tusi then walked back into the room where they were performing life-saving measures, and allegedly he told them to stop before saying, quote, "No objections. I'd like to call time of death," end quote. Even though the nurse had previously stated that there was a pulse, and even though a police officer noticed that the baby was, quote, "still possibly breathing based on the appearance of his stomach and chest area rising and falling." The report says Dr. Tusi declared the time of death at 6:20 p.m. and then he asked for a moment of silence. Authorities then informed the parents, who, understandably so, were completely and utterly heartbroken. One officer stayed in the trauma room with him before his body was taken to, quote, "a secure cold room to await transport to the medical examiner's office," end quote, which is where they would then conduct an autopsy. At 7:18 p.m., so about an hour or so after they called time of death, an officer noticed the boy making, quote, "an audible gasp." And of course, he pointed it out, and allegedly, medical staff explained it away as gasping noises that were naturally made because of the amount of resuscitating efforts that were done. Allegedly saying that the sound was only heard because of the amount of oxygen that they had pumped into his little body. The hospital's cold room has been described to be the facility's morgue, and his parents were then sent home without their baby. But then, just before midnight, his parents received the phone call that nobody ever expected, because the medical examiner had detected a very faint heartbeat. The little boy was still alive, fighting for his life. I have goosebumps. Fighting for his life, and he was immediately airlifted to the Phoenix Children's Hospital. At the hospital, the fight for his life continued because, understandably so, his condition was incredibly critical. His kidneys, lungs, and liver had begun shutting down. An initial MRI identified 2 small areas of potential brain damage, but he fought hard, and eventually, in what the family has described as nothing short of miraculous, later testing found absolutely no brain damage. Now, of course, his little body and his organs specifically were under so much stress that it took a lot to get him back into a state in which he would then be able to be released from the hospital. But I am so happy to say that he got there. He was released from the hospital, and he is alive, and he is back at home. He continues to require extensive therapy, ongoing medical monitoring, and treatment as he recovers from the neurological and physical effects of everything that he went through. But he's alive. This story was not publicly known until July 6, so nearly 5 months after the events. The Gilbert Police Department's report was released, and this case has now become national news. As of now, it sounds like there are 2 ongoing investigations, one in relation to the boy's parents for alleged negligent supervision, and the other one, of course, regarding the circumstances of his care at Mercy Gilbert Medical Center. No charges have been filed that I could find, and no timeline for anything has been publicly announced. Dr. Tusi has not spoken publicly, and the hospital has not released details of its internal investigation. We also don't know the status of the doctor's medical license. But yeah, shocking. I saw the headline and I was like, no way. There's absolutely no way that would ever happen, but it did. That is it from me today. Thank you for spending time with me today. I hope you guys are having the best day. If not, go do something to make it the best day. Make somebody happy, and I will see you in my next video. Massive kiss on the forehead to every single one of you.
Imagine getting a call off police to say that your loved one is dead and being like, no, they're stood right next to me. Picture the scene. It's a boiling hot summer's day in 1991 in El Dorado, Arkansas. And police are stood in front of the Whitehall Motel and the sun is literally beating down. A really dramatic scene had just taken place in room 121 shortly before. A witness basically saw a man and a woman arguing, and they went out into like the car park and they were screaming at each other, and then he dragged her back inside by her hair. Then a gunshot. Turns out another witness, a woman, had heard this gunshot, and it just so happened she was about to meet the woman who'd been shot. So this was a woman called Andrea Cooksey. She'd been approaching the hotel about to go and visit her friend. She actually lived with her, and she was devastated when she ran into the hotel room and found her friend dead on the floor. She rang police and cried out that her friend Mercedes was dead, murdered on the floor. But when officers got there, this went from tragic killing to disturbing, unnerving mystery. Because they were like, wait, who even is this woman? The woman didn't seem to actually exist. Many different people like knew her in inverted commas and had kind of different stories to tell about her history, but nobody knew what the truth was. She told some people that she'd run away from home. She told some that she had kids that she was trying to get back. They'd been taken off her. She wanted custody. She told some people she was in witness protection. She told some people that she was wanted for bank robbery, wanted for murder. Honestly, the list is endless. Nobody seemed to actually know what the truth was. He did know though that she had been working locally as a stripper, and it wasn't unusual for her to come into work with black eyes. She covered these up with very heavy makeup, but they could still see that she was being beaten black and blue. It was pretty obvious to everybody that her boyfriend and suspected pimp, James McAlpin, had been the one to kill her. He was the one that had dragged her across the car park by her hair. It didn't take long to track him down. He did get in his car and try and run away, but police did catch up with him pretty quickly. But they still couldn't find out who she actually was. She was known as loads of different names: Kelly Carr, Shannon Wiley, Mercedes, like I said. And when they searched her body, they found an ID card and they were like, aha, this is her real identity, Cheryl Ann Wick. Police finally had something to go off and a family to contact. Except when they rang Cheryl Ann Wick's family to tell them the devastating news, they were like, no, Cheryl isn't dead. She's right here. It turned out Cheryl Ann had had her identity stolen and she didn't even know it. This girl was even getting arrested as Cheryl Ann Wick. She'd worked as a dancer in Minneapolis and just presumed that somebody must have swiped her ID card out of her bag. This Mercedes girl had been stealing identities left, right, and center, and now she was dead. So they basically charged James with murdering this unknown woman, and frustratingly he only got 15 years behind bars and served less than that. It ended up being decades after the murder that Mercedes was identified finally through genetic genealogy. And we now know that although her surname is being withheld for privacy reasons for her family, her first name is Kelly. She'd had a troubled upbringing and her mum was addicted to substances and got Kelly addicted to substances too. She got roped into a life of S-work to fund her habits and honestly very shady men. James ended up getting sent back to prison once he was released, as is the nature of his industry, I guess. But he insists that he never killed Kelly. He said they were in a fight and she grabbed the gun and shot herself. For more cases like this, I do post a brand new episode on my podcast, The Born Investigation, every single week.